ahead and get started this evening. We have everybody here live in person, and then Ben is calling in. So we'll go ahead and have the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ken to approve the agenda, seconded by Lori. Any further discussion?
No,
by the
Carolyn.
board? Carolyn. Sorry.
It's okay. Whatever.
I'm talking to
It
today,
works.
honestly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 7-0. And next is the personnel recommendations.
And this is the subs, right? The virtual subs we're doing?
Right, yep, the top three are the virtual teachers, and then we've had a few resignations, and you can see the other things there too, but the new appointments are the virtual teachers, and we need to get them approved so we can start some training.
I make a motion, we approve the personnel recommendations.
All right, motion made by Lori,
I'll second.
seconded by Sue. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And then next, we have our review of the architect presentations.
John has kind of collated comments for you there, and give you a packet to look at.
John, I look at this, so the bond support, what, and so we had 8,000, or 2,500, and then this one up here was in between the 20 and 30,000.
20 to
What's-
30,000 to combine for both of those.
Oh, okay.
So the bond support for Envision is 40 to 80,000 for the pre-bond, and then bond support is $2,500 a month. And I don't know, it depends on how long it goes, is what they said. So,
Okay. Ben, are you able to see these things?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Can the bond support fee be in the bond, Jonna?
I think so, because it would be services from the architect.
What's the difference between the two?
The pre-bond is getting the, doing the legwork, the community and, information, reaching out to stakeholders.
Yeah.
And then the bond support is getting the vote, doing the vote stuff. When you're actually, you have the project, you're ready to go, and now you're gonna, it's selling the
Okay.
vote. So,
Then I had a question, and I don't know if it came up on, so we've had these, the DLR and the Hattery. When we used them, did we have any troubles with making sure everything was finished, or?
they both have done a good job. Shive we've used a lot more than, DLR, it's, there's.
They did Irving?
They did
Laurel's
Laurel's
Laurel's Wilder.
Yeah, so they did that, and they did like a music edition at the high school,
Most recently, they did
Nurse
the
renovation.
nurse health office.
yeah, which was like
remodel.
That we did 2 years
Which
ago.
was
Last
little,
2 years
yeah.
ago?
2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
So, when facilities met last Thursday, would it help to give a recap of what that committee's thoughts were, or are we all just gonna share our own?
Yeah,
Individual.
let's
Go,
let's do
yeah.
that.
So just to try to, open up the conversation, so
Who's all on facility?
Ken, Ben,
Ken,
and myself,
Ben,
yeah.
Okay.
We weren't overly impressed with Shive Hattery. I think the three of us thought that. We didn't feel like their presentation was very insightful as to this current project, but rather focused on everything they've done in our community. And they have been a great partner since 1997, I think is what they had said, and they've done a lot. We were impressed with both DLR and Envision. Just Envision was intriguing because we've never worked with them before, and we know they kind of brought the larger picture beyond the bond for what the future of the high school could look like. But DLR did Wilder, and they were great to partner with there too. We were, some of my notes here. We liked Envision. It brought Laura Peterson, who has an Irving student. So just that perspective, knowing that we'll have somebody in our own community working with, and I know Shive Hattery brings that too with Michael Clean. We talked about, just some concerns that maybe Envision hasn't done a lot of kindergarten through 12th projects or facility buildings or whatever. So we did ask Art to reach out to different superintendents across Iowa that have used DLR and Envision. And that was the email that he had sent us all, saying that what the superintendent's responses were. So, Ken, what?
No, I think it was, because when we talked about Envision and what had they done, I think you and I know Ben had referred back to slides we saw on some of the projects, and there were 2 or 3 there that we could see what they had done. Okay, so that, there is some answer to that.
Oh yeah, 85% of the work that Envision does is on they like existing buildings. They like to be able to come in at existing buildings and use their imagination and try to flip it into the space that is best for our community. Maybe not what's best or most modern or popular in the big schools or something like that. So they talked a lot, Envision talked a lot about the Indianola Way and how they would help work with us to build on what that really is. DLR talked about, like they all did, the importance of engaging everybody, the stakeholders, the community, all that stuff.
Was
So,
Bernie able to be there?
yeah, Bernie was there.
What was his thoughts? Just from a
Facilities,
facilities standpoint.
well, he can't really comment a whole lot on Envision because he hasn't worked with
Well, he
them.
probably didn't see the presentation.
He was watching remotely.
Oh, he did
Yeah.
watch it remotely.
Yeah. He just made kind of the same comments with Shive Hattery. We've had them before. They're comfortable in this district. Stuff like that. Ben? Thoughts?
I don't know, I think you hit it all. I don't, that's hard to hear, but I don't know if you talked, reached out to a couple of the superintendents that had done some work with Envision, and it sounded like they gave pretty high praise.
Yeah, just to recap, Envision is doing Cedar Falls High School's new high school, and Cedar Falls superintendent was very happy. They've also done work with Waverly Shell Rock, and it sounds like they're going to do kind of a study for them and continue working with them. They were also very pleased with Envision. And then on DLR, they have been Carlisle's sole architect for about 6 years now, and Carlisle's quite pleased with DLR too. So those were the 3 calls I made to superintendents, and they had nothing but good to say about those 2 companies, really.
And when we, in the committee, what experience did they had came up for discussion on support services buildings. And then from the brochure on DLR, we found there were 2 or 3 where they'd done, 2 of them had done transportation and others had actually done them. And with Envision, as we just, I think that's the one that done the fire station in Muscatine. I hope I'm not off on that. So working with buildings, with doors and trucks and things like that. So both have experience to some extent doing this. But if you look at the whole list of things they did, and additions and all of that, and all of them, it just amazes me. I think everybody's bus barns in the same problem we are. Because nobody's really done much work with them, and all of that.
They haven't been a priority, I don't think, do you? I mean,
Pardon me?
I don't think they've been a priority. It
At the
seems like
time,
something else has come up above.
Yeah, I see it. So.
It's typical for a district. You deal with your kids' spaces and try to get your learning spaces really set, before you start addressing some of the other ones.
I liked Envision's outlook. Like they wanted to look out. They had more of a out of the box type thinking. I think just the presentation, I liked how they were community. I mean, we got to get in the community, and she's right. To get this to go, you gotta explain why. And if they would've seen what Sue and I saw when they were trying to change out seatbelts, I mean, there's nowhere to really work or equipment, and so I liked her, well, I liked the group, because they had I just thought their vision was more open and more flowing, but the other two, I know we've worked with and we trust, but I just think, I like their vision for us, but.
And another thing the committee talked about was, if you remember, DLR had Stephanie, who was mainly like the publicist, the bond, like working on the vote and getting it exactly where it needs to be. And whereas Envision will help us in any way we need, they just won't take the full lead like DLR will do. But if it's our community and our thing, do we want to take the lead on trying to get the bond passed? I would think that we need to have community faces involved.
Did they have to say why their pre-bond was so expensive with Envision?
Actually, they said that it could go higher than that. It's in the documents here, you know. It says, we have completed these kinds of projects for 10 to 200,000 based on what we know the project, you know, for the bond planning work, you know, would be 40 to 80,000. So.
So have these other two ever did a bond with us? I mean, it's DLR and
DLR did,
I assume there was a bond
It was a
before
bond
it was
before
water.
it was water.
and did they take the lead on that and run with it, or?
I think that the PR piece is relatively new. I've not seen that before with any architects. But the thing that I thought was interesting is then she meets with community members to like spread the word, right? That's what it seemed like to me. But they probably did. I wasn't here then, so I don't
It was
know.
pretty easy
No, I don't
to-
think so, I really don't.
You don't?
That there was
No, I don't.
anything.
And I watched the last one with the auditorium stuff from a distance, but that's not, or the track and, you know, all of that, and what we did in that one.
That was
from a
with
distance,
Sarah
but-
Obi, right?
Oh, Sarah?
So I walked away from last Monday night's presentations. I guess I was most impressed with Envision, like their overall outlook for the future of the high school. And that's what I initially walked away with. I called and spoke to a couple general contractors and a subcontractor over last week just to see, I thought maybe we could see how they work with their general contractors and their subcontractors. And the overwhelming, Envision, which was the one I was most impressed with their presentation, I guess. Envision, they said, now, granted, all these contractors would have been doing this for quite a while. They said sometimes the communication's a little rough between them and the architect. Like, it's a lot of new, younger individuals in that company, and so the communication was not necessarily always jiving there. So that was but they did say that, like, they come up with a lot of new ideas and a lot of do things new ways and stuff. So that was Envision. DLR, they had said that really nothing good, nothing bad though. Like, just, yep, we've worked with them. Like, they seem okay and stuff. Shive was their. Yep, all of them had worked with Shive before throughout many years. They've been around forever. We've worked with them many years and stuff. And one of them had mentioned, they said, we've started to notice, we feel like some things are being missed with Shive on some different things that they used to not miss things, and now they felt like that. So those were some comments from some a couple contractors and a subcontractor there that would probably do work for these, or they definitely do work for each of these architects have done work for them, so take that
And I left
out of
the,
the trash can.
both, the first day of the board meeting, wondering about Envision. They sounded good, and I liked what I heard, but I wondered, are they big enough to do this? And just on their website, I discovered they had 50 employees, so they're not, a 3-member firm.
Right,
Four
right,
members.
right.
I don't know what those 50 employees are, you'll get me
Yeah.
wrong, but, and all of that, so. And we're not asking for building a brand new high school or branding a new grade school. We're asking for help in planning and we're asking for a specific thing with a particular, to solve a particular problem of
Yeah.
what do we do for these three departments,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, in my brain, I was thinking like, well, surely anybody can build a bus barn. Like, right, really? I mean, they should be able to do that, like, you know, any of those contractors, architects should be able to do that. But like you said, like that planning of the high school, that's where I was like, oh, that's intriguing to me that we could
Yeah.
maybe develop a long-term plan before we even get into this, to see if there's ways we could move
Well, and
for
you
the
notice
future
he-
for that.
He was talking about his hodgepodge, you know, so
Uh-huh.
he really looked and thought about that.
Yeah.
That's what kind of caught my eyes. He really, I know that's just because they're new and it stands out to him more or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was impressed, like how when she was talking up here, it seemed like she knew our community pretty well and knew the district pretty well.
Her husband was a graduate.
I thought she was a great communicator,
She was.
Yeah, I don't know.
outstanding communicator.
I just know she's related to Kevin Peterson, that's all I know.
Okay.
He said they'd been here about 3 years, if I remember correctly, and intend to be here for the long haul.
Yeah. Which I think that's great to have somebody with buy-in, like.
But her husband's an Indianola grad.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. The
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Irving family.
both Shive had somebody like that in
Yes,
Vision,
yeah.
so.
And
What do you
Envision-
think, Carolyn? Oh, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
As I saw the slides from Envision that night we were there, I liked the way they used color in what they were doing. Their things look different. Whereas everything I see from the other architects is always bright and cheerful, but it looks the same everywhere. You know, so just, they seem to have a better understanding of how to make something look just a little more pleasing. To me, who has absolutely no taste in the world anyway, but I don't say that.
Yeah,
Me
they just
neither.
had lots of creativity, lots of pop, just lots of different things that could maybe happen with the
she was
space.
enthusiastic. I mean, all three of them, I thought they all three were enthusiastic, but
Yeah.
I missed DLR's presentation. But
Okay,
I-
that's right.
It's hard to try to watch it on the thing.
And the other thing I mentioned at the meeting was, there are places that will help us with bond
Right,
that are not with the architects, and that works, you know, how to do the bond issue. And I mentioned that my experience had been with the YMCA. We had a group to help us get the vote. They knew nothing about building the Y, you know, or anything like that. They weren't connected with the architect, well, we didn't have any by that time. So
okay,
that can be separate if we so desire.
yeah.
So have you and Carolyn done a bond issue on being on the school board? Have you two served as, when we
Yeah.
did a bond?
Differently, but yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, what do you guys think? I mean, you said, you've been through it, so what's your, what do you think we should?
I'll say my general comments and I'll go to that. I would say like sitting through the presentations, I think they're all really strong architectural firms, so I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, you couldn't go wrong with any of them.
Right,
But I guess I did also kind of go away with the fact that for whatever reason, for that 1 hour they had, I was able to kind of see that Envision took the time to show us stuff that was kind of similar, rather than just saying, this is what we've done for you, or, you know, it's like they just had a lot of examples like before and after, and you're like, wow, they kind of did something similar, that's kind of cool. And so, I mean, and then I go, well, that's kind of trivial, because I mean, that's just an hour presentation, but they took the time to do that, and they kind of tailored it. To me, it just kind of demonstrated that they have done similar things, and I liked what I saw, because I liked that multi-purpose areas. It wasn't just another front, it was like the whole area.
yeah,
I just felt kind of encouraged that for the project that we're doing, that they kind of took the time to show us some examples that they've done. So I'm kind of, and it's nothing against the other two. I mean, if they'd done a different presentation, I probably would have been,
yeah,
but I just felt like they hit it exactly
I agree.
with what we were asking them, and made me feel kind of comfortable that they've done something similar and they've come up with something pretty creative. So that thinking out of the box and all that. As far as the bonds, I mean, I guess the thing like we talked about last week, you know, when you're building a new or, you know, when you're building something new, I mean, it's different than saying, hey, bus barn, you know, entrances, which will help with multi-purpose areas and all that. But I mean, it's going to be, it's I wouldn't say it's going to be like an informed decision for the public. It's not going to be an emotional decision. Because I think you have to know what we're trying to do to understand why we're doing it. Because at surface, they might say no. So I think it's gonna be a harder sell to the public and get them more involved with what's going on, what we're trying to do, how much difference it could make. But I think it's just a different type of vote than what we've had. Like when we had safety, it's like every school had safety, and it's like, well, that was,
Yeah.
pretty easy for people to grasp. But like if you just say, hey, we're changing the entrances and the bus barn and the library,
So did you,
I don't know.
so how we're involved as board members, did you get out there with the community and talk to them and really, did you set up like,
Well, like we
I
would
don't wanna
talk,
say
we would
forums,
talk.
but did you guys set up little things where they could come in and listen or see, or as a board, where were you guys, how did you guys word that?
I know that we got involved at some point, like talking to PTOs and all that.
Yeah.
And I know that the public has been involved, and we sat through some of that, but I don't really remember if it was like the,
I mean, like Rotary, and I'm thinking, you know.
well, there's definitely a road show.
Lions
Once
Club
you get
and
it
all
figured
that.
out, there's a road show, but getting all the public input, like the pre-bond, I think that's maybe where I'm not really remembering exactly how we did that.
Lori, are you asking these questions because you're thinking like maybe?
No,
we
I'm
should
just
do
trying
this
to
stuff
think, I was
ourselves?
just trying to put it in my mind, because I've never done a bond, I mean, I've not had any experience with bonds, so I'm just trying to understand it from like, how the board kind of, you said you could always hire somebody else,
No, I said,
or, you can either have these guys do it or a different firm, but I was just wondering what the board involvement is
what's happened is, in mine was the original middle school, not the revision here, and Lauren knows well.
right?
Strong committees from the community. They pretty much run all the planning. The best example I can give you is kind of like RAGBRAI was set up. You had a big committee.
Yeah.
another
Right,
another
right.
committee. And we were fortunate enough in both of those to have community members that were able to pull people in. Okay.
So,
So like,
That worked with that. When I talked about using the firm, that was when I was with the city with the YMCA.
and I
Okay.
volunteered for that. And so they would just say, hey, if you want to so I was
the YMCA or Ragbri?
the YMCA. And so they basically, you'd show up in the volunteers and then you were given a committee of the volunteers. So I think I was to help target the businesses. So then I was, you're going to have people volunteer that believe in what we're doing.
Right.
And then go out,
And
so.
board did some speaking, superintendent did speaking, all community groups. The times are changing.
I mean, I'm just thinking when Carolyn says,
The town's growing, it's changing a little bit. That's why some assistance is of interest at the
And
time.
John raised a good point. I think at least one or two of the firms brought this up too. As a administrative or board team, we can share information, definitely. We can't be a vote yes committee. I mean, you need a vote yes promotional type committee.
Not the board.
But then cannot be the board or us. We
Why
can
not-
share information, answer every question, but we can't utter the words vote yes.
well, I know, and I don't remember her name,
Oh.
Envision, she made the comment, it's gonna be a hard sell, like you said, because a bus barn is not something, and she said it'll, you gotta show that you actually need that facility. That's why I was asking, a new school is an easy sell, because
Well, I
obviously
think
we
we
need it,
should.
but,
We should probably be careful too, not just to say, not just to say bus barn,
well, but I mean,
It's a safety
support services,
facility.
Auxiliary services building, whatever.
Right.
There are some huge needs in this district.
Yeah.
And some of it is supporting our transportation, but also our buildings and grounds, our food service, our technology.
but see, people aren't gonna know that
Receiving.
until
Yeah, well, absolutely.
we make them very aware.
Yeah, I
And we-
agree.
And one of the things that came up to me, I mentioned, is we can blend in with things that we're doing out of our SAVE fund, that we're trying to refresh and renew the district, kind of an attitude. Because as we sat in the facilities committee meeting, Bernie was talking about the 2 gym floors that had to be done, about some bleachers that have, if that's the correct term anymore,
Yep.
that has to be replaced and things like that. So we.
And the
we're gonna
auditorium.
bring up the whole thing that we're looking for, and I cut you off, you mentioned the auditorium.
And the seating that he wants to do and kind of the interior.
The seating that's gonna be there, says, as long as that seating's out of there, do we paint, do whatever, so it's a whole attitude that we're going to in these things. But, Mr. President, if I could point out, everything I've sounded like, we've all kind of made in our minds that we like and visions. I think we're there. What we want them to do might be the question, however you want to handle it. I'm not hearing anybody saying anything else but that.
Does everyone landed there? or-
I'm
Okay.
envisioning.
Yeah, no, I think, Art, remind me, that Jerry Gallagher, it says in the note that Envision's worked with him. He was the individual that, helped on the Knoxville bond issue, right?
He was. Now, I don't know if I'd say exactly Envision worked with him, but when I talked to Cedar Falls, the superintendent there said that they used Jerry Gallagher for the bond promotion. I don't think they really relied on Envision for that. So, I mean, I don't know if he works with Envision per se, but they both are involved with Cedar Falls High School, and he did help with the Knoxville bond issue, correct? Okay.
Okay, yeah, the little write-up Jonna made for us, it said Envision has worked with him in the past.
So John Gallagher
Okay,
was
yeah, I
separate.
got you. Sorry, that was in
Fairly
the,
familiar
yeah, that was
with
in the
that.
information they shared. You're right.
So John Gallagher's a separate person.
Yes.
That's,
It's a
that he
separate
does,
firm.
that's his,
I'm fairly familiar with the Knoxville bond issue, and I think Art mentioned it our last meeting. I think that was probably a difficult get, and they did a tremendous job on it. So that partnership and relationship is encouraging too.
So the only thing I'd call out with Envision is the range from 10 to 200,000. That it does sound, even though they say it's likely 40 to 80, that is more than the others. But it does say like, normally they work hourly, but so is it kind of in our control how much of their involvement on the pre-bond? I just think we have to watch it. I don't want to spend,
I agree.
I don't want to go crazy on that.
Yep.
But that's where I'm trying to get, like, is that, the pre-bond is like, here's the idea of what we're trying to do, like, let's say the entrances, because that's kind of, a little bit more like out of the box, how they think. Is it them thinking and like running it past people and saying, hey, what if we did this and there's this community room, or, and then people say, no, I think it should be a little bit this way. Is that what that part is?
it's more defining the project, I believe.
The vision, they might refer to
Visioning,
visioning,
yeah.
the visioning,
Okay.
the heat map where they had people placing dots and giving input, where DLR and Envision in particular talked about the ways they were remotely engaging the public.
Okay.
All of that would fall in that pre-bond, where you're really
It's kind of the
firming-
designing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're firming up what you're gonna have people vote on.
Okay.
So by the time you get to the vote, you'll at least have a mock-up, a concept. You won't have every detail worked out. But we've seen with other votes in the community, people need to know what they're voting for. So that pre-bond would be all that visioning.
I think we could make a motion, of course, but, we could move towards, would like to work with Envision. But we'd like a little clarification.
Are you talking what Carolyn just asked?
Pardon me?
What Carolyn just asked about how much, can we control that involvement?
Yeah, that type of thing, it's hard to.
Yeah, because they do say Ken, Mayor and Carolyn, in the Roman numeral 2, letter B, the second to last sentence there, or the last sentence. We would normally work hourly with an estimated amount, but are open to other options if they better suit the district. And then before that, the preceding sentence, it really depends on how far we go, or we decide to go with design, and how many community meetings the group thinks is right for the Indianola community. So they're just, I guess it would be depending upon what we decide, like, do we want 3 meetings, do we want 10 meetings, like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, they gotta have a charge for that,
Oh, yeah.
their time and effort,
I mean, I don't think tonight we have to know,
those
I don't think
specifics.
we're saying we're.
Yeah, it did
Giving
concern
them
me
off
though,
of
like
that,
she
you
said,
know,
like
we're
there was a
agreeing
big
to the-
variance.
There is a big variance, yeah.
We're agreeing to the new construction and renovation figures of 6.5 and 7.5. I mean, I think that's the first thing that them want to work.
And you're gonna have, once you determine who you wanna work with, you're still gonna have a contract to approve.
Yeah.
That's all gonna be in front of you.
Yep.
So,
The
I mean,
pre-bond.
this really does just kind of give us a next step to
Okay.
have some further conversation with the firm of your choice.
I guess where I just kind of think is like the facility area, or, the, West Barn, but, that could be more conversations with the people that work there. not so much the public, where like those public entrances maybe have more public input because they'd be community areas, hopefully. So I mean, I could see where you could kind of control some of it. So I don't know that they'd have to have a couple of meetings, obviously, with the people that work out there to get the logistics right or what they want out of the building, but I don't know that the public needs to be debating on
Right.
how many
There's no
bins
reason.
or how the setup is for
Right.
food, or, you know, I don't know.
It'd be like the public discussing this building, which they probably did it.
Not a lot, no, not a lot. More programming with the people who are working and then vision of the board.
Yeah, that's what, maybe we can control it by doing things like that.
Did we get a bond for this?
No.
No, didn't think we did.
Okay, so is anybody, would anybody like to make a motion? Does anybody
I think-
like to make a motion?
Oh, I'd love to, if
All right.
people are ready.
I think we're ready. I feel like everybody's ready.
I feel comfortable.
Okay, I'll move that we approve Envision as the architectural firm we'd like to work with
A second.
and move forward towards an actual contract.
Okay.
Is
Motion
that-
made by Ken.
Is that,
Yep.
okay.
I second it.
Seconded by Lori. Any further discussion by any of the board members?
I just have a question.
All
I
right.
have in my notes, when DLR was talking that with the amount of voters we technically would have within the school district, when they went like the families and all that, do you guys have to do that really, I know it sounds like a lot, but really we would only need 2,600 votes?
Right. I thought that was
Yeah, that was their
good too.
statistical analysis, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's her guess. I mean, I
Yeah,
think what,
estimate,
yeah, I mean,
estimate.
they've got a very educated guess,
Right.
but, yeah.
I thought that
You
was
just never
a good
know.
idea.
Okay. It's just, when you talk about those different groups starting to help, it's,
It didn't sound like.
Well,
Okay.
it'd be different if we were doing a vote at the same time as other things, so all that comes into play. If we have a standalone vote, who shows up,
Right.
then you get into, I mean, it'd be totally different if it was packed alongside a
right,
Oh, so that.
vote for mayor or something like
Yeah.
that.
like our election.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion by any board members? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 7-2.
I purposely delayed it last week just to.
I know, cause we like, is she voting against it or is she voting with it?
And at the facilities meeting, I do want to point out that I did ask, and Art told me, I think during the year, at least afterwards, that I was talking about phone system, things we have in the middle of the room, so people can hear better when we
Yes.
call in, because I'm getting close to that, what's going on. And he said that Ray has located something called an owl or something like that should work, so I told the phone man, let's just get it in here so that everybody can hear. Because there'll be-
It's ordered and it's supposed to help with that hybrid kind of meeting where some are on site, some are remote, so.
Okay.
It is hard time to hear when you're on the phone and
Yeah.
trying to.
Everybody's got a
Yeah,
long
we
cord,
need
so.
Can you get
motion to
adjourned?
adjourn and then I can end the stream.
That you can.
I move to adjourn?
Motion made by Carolyn to adjourn,
Second.
second by Sue. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 7-2.
Okay, good.